Okay, hello YouTube, thanks for watching. So in this video, I'm going to talk about graphic creation, what you could post on social media and how you can get some good graphics. What software do I use? I mean, I'm not going to cover everything that I use, obviously, because there's a lot of stuff I use. But in this video, I'm going to talk mostly about Canva. I'm going to talk a little bit about, AI and, for example, ChatGPT. I'm going to show you how you're going to be able to get access to some of my graphics, and I put them all into my drive. Okay, this is my Google Drive, and I share this drive with the team in the private group. So if you want to get access to that, you need to get in touch with me. Don't comment below about asking to get access, because I never know how to get in touch with people who comment, because their names are usually different to what they are on social media, and I'm not going to go around hunting for people. So if you want access to my private group and the stuff that I'm putting out there, you need to get in touch with me on Messenger. Get onto Facebook, send me a friend request, but don't wait for me to respond, because there's a lot of people who I don't know who you are or whatever, and I may not, I may just ignore or whatever. But if you send me a message, I will see it. All right. Anyway, so basically, I use one of the software I use, one of the many software I use Canva. I also use ChatGPT to get concept ideas. Thing with AI, is a lot of people think that AI is sort of taking over, and I don't agree with that. People get all caught up and get all, anytime incredible software or technology comes out, people get all kind of worried or concerned or panic. Like when the TV came out, your grandmother would have said, like, it's going to melt your brain or whatever. People always say, typical negative stuff about technology that comes out. But AI is useful. It's a tool at the end of the day, and you don't want to let AI just take over what you're doing. You're in charge. You're the boss. And what you need to do is you need to get better at prompts. I'm not going to do this. This video is not about prompts, and I don't believe I'm particularly an expert about prompts anyway. So I probably won't do a video about prompts. But that's for another tutorial. But you need to dictate what you want ChatGPT to do. And you need to be the boss. You need to learn how to describe your brand or what you're trying to do. So I'm going to go through some tools that I use in Canva, and what I use in combining AI generated stuff with Canva, so that I can get exactly what I want. So as an example, I've created these graphics, for example. So let's have a look at them. So I created this both in Canva and using ChatGPT, and this one as well. So this is about our energy drink, okay, E3, all right, and a kind of a gym theme, and it's got a nice caption at the bottom. It's got the logo, it's got the branding. This one as well, and then this one as well. So sometimes, the thing with ChatGPT, and it can be a good or a bad thing, but ChatGPT can, provide you with text. It can add text over the images, but it usually is, sometimes it's kind of hit and miss. Sometimes sometimes the font doesn't come out right. I mean, the font is fine, but sometimes the spelling doesn't come out right with the text over the images. So just give you an example. This is the original concept that ChatGPT brought out, and you can see that the spelling is incorrect, or it looks a bit weird. It's got 3 O's there, and if I'm not going to be able to zoom in. Let me just see if I can open it up into a new tab. It doesn't seem to work. Okay. Well, anyway, you might be able to see energy is not quite right, and it's got a weird thing on the D there at the end there. So, and take this, for example. This original one, like I'm opening up into Canva now, but this was actually overlaid. But the original image, if I show you the original image, Where is it? That one. So the original one that Canva created, sorry, the ChatGPT created, was actually this one. So if I just, show you just by, just by replacing it quickly. Okay, well, anyway. Obviously the text wasn't there. I put in the text myself there, but anyway, you can see that the text that the ChatGPT created wasn't quite right. So how was I able to, kind of remove the text, or even, do something with the text or whatever to come up with that? So that's what now you're seeing. And then, as I say, obviously this image became, where is it? This one. So, the text, that's the image there, if you see what I mean. So this was the original one, and ChatGPT didn't do very good with the spelling, and it looked a bit weird. But then this is what I was able to do with it, all right, and alter it. So how was I doing this? All right, so let me just start from scratch. So let me just open up a blank design, and I'm going to go to Instagram Square 1080 by 1080, because that's what I started with. Just started with a blank canvas, didn't use a template because I'm just bringing it in. So I'm just going to show you what I do. I just copy it from ChatGPT, and I just paste it in, and I make it set as a background. And then I select the image, and then you got edit photo. Now I don't know if these features are actually, yeah, they're pro features. All right. So let me just move myself out of the way. So these are pro features. So if you're a free member of Canva, you're not going to be able to use these. So these are AI tools, and they're what they call Magic Studio, and they really are magic. I use them a lot. I often use the background remover. I often use, something that I need to get rid of, and that's that can be what we're going to be using here. This here and this here can sometimes be quite, either or. This tool will actually remove something from your image if you don't want it there, completely remove it. But this, on the other hand, will actually remove any text that's there. So sometimes I might use this just to remove the text if I just completely don't want it at all. But then, on the other hand, if the text is just a bit wrong, I can just grab the text. So I can just, so here, check this out. So I select that, and it's getting to work. So what it does, guys, is you can see it's slightly different, but what it generally does, sometimes it works better than other, sometimes it works better, sometimes it doesn't work quite so well or whatever. But what it's doing is actually not only does it grab the text and recognizes it, it also recognizes, on the whole, it'll recognize the font. But sometimes what it does, if the font doesn't exist in the Canva database, it'll use a similar font, and I think that's what it's done here. But let me show you. So if now it's become text. So even if I remove that, it's completely gone anyway. So I'm going to just rewrite it, live good. And now I just need to make that larger. And then what I might do is see if I can make it bold. Yeah, I was able to make it bold. So that's not bad, I mean, you can play around with other fonts if you want, but and then you can change the spelling of the energy boost, obviously. So that becomes that. And then what I did was I added in the E3, and I put that there, sort of as if it was sort of in the background. But you can do whatever you want. And then obviously sometimes, it looks a bit weird because there's no actual shadow there. So, you can either play around with elements and just look for a shadow. You might not get the right kind of shadow, but you might be able to get something that sort of reasonably sort of suffice if possible, if at all possible. But I mean, you know, it's going to be probably, the shadow is probably going to be sort of, you know, sort of moving over onto the right. If you look at this, you look at the shadow here, trying to, and then I'm going to make that go into the background. Move it up slightly. I mean, it's not perfect. You might want to play around with it, but we'll make it bigger possibly. Yeah, I mean, it looks a bit better. You know, you'd be surprised how, you know, shadows can really make things look a bit better if you're just adding stuff into the image. You need to make sure that it's sort of atmospheric or whatever, you know, and just. But you know, with the various elements that you add, you know, you've got things like transparency, and you can just sort of make it slightly more transparent, or you know, give it a, you know, I mean, there are so many things you can search for, like shine. You know, give it a little bit of sparkle or whatever. Make it smaller. Make it transparent slightly. Whatever you know, whatever you want to do, and you can also make it slightly tinted. Or that actually that was probably better. Where was I? Actually, this might have been slightly better. I'm just looking at this sort of shine on the mug there, just to make something similar. But then the other thing you can do is you can go into filters, because there's some filters here, and look for something to make it more yellowy. But you know, that just, you know, just gives you, you know, rough, you know, some ideas. But anyway, that's that, and you're probably wondering about this one, for example. But so let me just show you with a brand new canvas. Oops. Let's do a square. And then, oh, no, where am I? Oh yeah, uploads. So this time I'm going to show you with this one. So this is what ChatGPT created for me. So, you know, I basically said I want to sort of you know, I just described it, you know, in my own words. I said, you know, give an environment with a dark gym in the background with some spotlights, kind of you know, with the whole environment is energetic. In the foreground, there's a sort of a metallic or metal energy shaker drink. You know, I mean, you just and then you know, and then I basically described, you know, add a splash, you know, and I gave some concepts of what I was looking for on Google, and I just uploaded the concepts so that ChatGPT could understand what I'm looking for. And it gave me and I said, you know, put "Live Good" in clearly written on the, you know, as branding on the shaker, and this is what it came out with. So it's pretty cool. But obviously, "Live Good," the text is not quite right. It's got LIVEE, so it's not quite right. So again, what I used. So you can either use this, okay. Let me just show you. I actually didn't use this, but let me show you what this would do, just so that you can see the tool in action. And you get a brush, and it just basically removes stuff that you don't want. It could be text, it could be anything in the image. But let me just show you how this tool actually works. It's pretty cool. Actually, might not do it very well, actually. Ah, no, it's not too bad. So basically remove stuff, all right? But the text grabber could have done it, but I didn't want the text, so, you know, but, you know, even the text grabber could have done it, though, and then you could have just deleted the text and it would have done exactly the same thing. So there's the sort of the background for the text, and then what you do is And then you can add some text. Actually, no, in this case I didn't add text, but you could add text if you want. But actually what I did was I added the logo of Live Good. You can do it whichever. Actually, I might do it this way. So 90 degrees. So there you have it. Pretty cool, you know. It looks like it's part of the branding on the shaker. And then you know, and then if you want, you can add in the you know, for example, in my case, what I did was I added in the E3, and I put that in there. And then again, as before, you know, if you want to, you can put in the shadow underneath if you want to, but it doesn't seem to need it, so it's pretty cool. And then you know, obviously you can put in the caption above, some more text. So whatever text you want. And it also gives you recommended font, which is useful because you know, font, in my opinion, is very, very essential. You know, you can also ask ChatGPT what font do you recommend for the image. You know, to give a kind of an energetic, you know, fitness boost type font, something bold, and you can ask ChatGPT what font would you recommend. Something that might be available on Canva, because you know, I've asked it, I've asked it for font and it didn't have it on Canva, and I said the font isn't available on Canva, and it kind of came back and said, oh, okay, if you're looking something for Canva, this should be available. Okay, and it gave me that. Actually, I think this was the one I used as a recent font. This was something that that ChatGPT recommended. I think it was this one. I seem to remember. Yeah. Pretty cool font, actually. And sometimes, like, if you know, if the font, if there's a spotlight in the background and the font isn't really sort of showing through, I mean, you know, you could just make it a bit smaller so it goes in between those lights. But one thing you can do just to make text stand out is Canvas has some effects. So use the effects, and then you can put, for example, outline, and then change that, and it kind of stands out a bit better, even though there are spotlights in the background. The other thing you can do is you can use like a background for the text, but then you can do a kind of transparency, so you still get the spots in the background. But I don't like that because I like the spots. I think the spots are really cool. So I think we'll go with the outline. Actually, one of the fonts that ChatGPT did in fact recommend. I mean, sometimes it comes out with some really pretty cool recommendations. But actually, as a pro member of Canva, you can actually import your own font. So you can actually, you know, go on Google and search, and there's a lot of places where you can download a font for free, and then you can import it. Some really cool fonts, but actually, you know, ChatGPT also recommended the Impact font, which is quite a cool font. You know, it's a simple, it's a very well, it's in some ways it's a little bit overused, I feel, in this space of network marketing and you know, internet marketing and stuff. It's a bit dated as well. I mean, it's a cool font, but I see it used a lot. But there's so many cool fonts, and even Canva actually recommends some pretty has some pretty good recommendations, because, you know, it comes down here, it says where is it, recommended font right there. Okay, so let's see some of their recommendations. Okay, that could work. Yeah, there you go. or maybe something like that. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So you could have something like, you know, I don't know, really just sort of like, wow. Maybe make it really cool, a bit big. So, you know, even just by using Canva's recommendations, you know, you've got something pretty cool. I mean, that could be a subheading, and then you could have something bold as well, and then mix the fonts. So anyway, I mean, that just gives you some idea on how to, you know, mix in what you can get as a concept from ChatGPT, or just go ahead and actually use that. Another thing you can do actually, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Actually, not with this particular image, but let me just show you. I'm going to delete the whole thing, and then just show you something that I actually did before. But let me just show you with this one. Was it that one? Actually, no, not that one. I think actually it did a pretty good job with this. And sometimes I use this tool. So we've got this one. So the text is fine. I'm not going to do anything with that. Keep it as it is. But you could change it if you want. It's up to you. Actually, one thing I did do though is, but I'm not going to do that yet. Actually, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you another tool. Okay, that actually takes this object in the foreground actually out. It kind of rips this object out. So I'm going to use the magic grab. Okay, so check this out. It's going to grab the foreground content. So it's going to basically take out the stuff in the foreground. So there you go. You've basically taken out this mixer here. And why is that a good idea? It might be quite cool if you put the E3 behind it. Now you wouldn't have been able to do that before, you know, like, so you've got that there. And we can do it however you want, but so that's now in the background. So you've got the cool, I mean, you know, it's all cool. I mean, you know, I love the E3 packaging, but you know, it just gives you an idea, you know, depending on what you're doing. I mean, you know, there's so many things you could do with this. Actually, I'm gonna, or you know, you can keep the background, but then put this in there instead. And you know, it actually kept the shadow in there, so it actually looks quite cool. If I did that, so to make the shadow look like part of the bottom. So yeah, like something like that. And then maybe you can you know, search for I don't know. You could probably search for like red liquid spray or whatever. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just playing around. But another thing that I tried to get ChatGPT to do. This was quite cool in some ways. Again, you could use some of these tools like Magic Grab. Yeah, and then you could put this in the background. Yeah, I could keep it quite big yeah. So that's pretty cool, you know. I didn't go with this one simply because it looks like a product. So I didn't want to kind of, you know, make it look like the Live Good has brought out another kind of energy drink or something. I don't know, you know, but yeah, maybe it's okay. But what I'd probably do is I'd probably just delete this part, maybe, for starters, and then maybe get rid of that bit as well. Might have to doctor the text, obviously, but just for now, just so that you see. And then what I might do is I just go back here and Might not need the logo, but it was quite cool. Yeah. So what what you've got there is you've basically got the ChatGPT created the original image, but then I was able to use Canva to pull out the foreground image, keep the background because it's cool, and then so that I can get the E3 in there, sort of in the background, and you can do other things with the E3 to make it. Hold a minute. Go to shadows. I can give it a glow. Make the glow white. I'd probably make the glow. You can change the angle of the glow, so so there's no glow underneath, so that the shadow is viewable. But oh well, no, forget it. All right. So anyway, that gives you some ideas of how you could use Canva with ChatGPT to get some really cool graphics, and then you can put your captions in there. You can get ChatGPT to create some caption ideas. You can ask, give me 6 words, for this image. You can upload the image, or maybe just describe what you want. Energy, power, whatever, and then get some captions for your graphic. But anyway, hope this video was useful. Didn't want to make it too long, but I know some people have been asking me how to do stuff, so that you can spice up your social media channels with some good content. Do your own stuff, get your creative juices flowing, and no pun intended, because what I'm demonstrating here. But there's a lot of good tools in Canva, especially at the pro level, and then ChatGPT as well. So I'm not using the free version of ChatGPT, so that's why I'm able to get pictures and images from ChatGPT. But there are other apparently other free image generators for AI tools or whatever. You just have to look for them. But anyway, this is pretty cool. I hope you like what I shared with you guys. And then again, if you want to get access to this directory here, I bring out so much stuff. Some of it's stuff that that I you doing the same kind of thing as I've taught you how to do, and using different tools and software, AI tools, but also templates and stuff like that, and Canva and various other tools. But anyway, if you just want to get access to this, you don't have to create any of your own stuff. You can just download and use what we have here, which is some cool stuff here. But anyway, I hope you like what I was sharing with you guys. Give me a like and subscribe to my channel, and I'm always uploading good content here every single week. And it really helps the channel if you can give me a like. So I'm pretty much adding to this directory almost every single day. So as you can see, you can also get access to my to this as well. So I'm also, as you can see, I'm adding to the to my channel. This is Telegram, and you'll get access to this as well if you get into my group. It's one of the featured posts in my private group that you can get access to this channel. So as you can see, I'm always adding to stuff, but there's no chat in here. It's just view only. I'm the only one who adds stuff in here, but people can come in, and people that they like the stuff. I'm adding in updates, tips and recommendations, advice, tools, and stuff. So that you can come in here and download stuff, but it's just a view only. No interaction, no chats, just for people who don't want to be viewing a lot of chit chat going on. So it's good for some people. Anyway, hope you like the video. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next training. Bye for now.